Hi everybody, it's Chantal here from Heart Seeds Creative, and today I wanted to show you guys how easy it is to make a California poppy tincture. So the first thing when we're working with plants is always to be sure that we have the right plant. So some of the identifying factors to the California poppy, or the golden cup, different names for it, is of course its bright orange leaves. It also at the center has this little black ring around here, and also like most poppies, it has with the neck here has a little flap. It's almost mushroom-like. You can see here. And its leaves are very distinct in the way that it's a little bit wilted because I harvested this yesterday. So each leaf has its main stem, and then they break off into three. So these three parts here, and then those parts break off again into three, and then each one of these parts then breaks off into three, and those parts break off into three, and then the top part sometimes can have 2 or 3 little slits in it as well. So it's one that here in BC, I don't know of any lookalikes, but for some people, I guess, a lot of plants look alike. So that's just what I'm showing you. It's actually a native plant from Mexico, up the coast of the States, and then here it grows wild on Vancouver Island. You have to often see it on the roadways, which I really like because I feel like it brings a calming energy to it. So I'm just gonna process it and talk about it a little bit. So I'm getting ready to make a tincture. So I've got my jar here, which I already sanitized. And how I did that was, I usually just sanitize it with my oven. So I'll wash the jar, and then I stick my oven on, and I put the jar in there, and I let it dry in there, and it brings it up to a nice high temperature. You can do it at the lowest temperature that your oven goes, or if you feel like you need it on 350, that's fine, but just don't forget about them. So now what I'm doing is I'm just cutting them up for about 1 inch from the top. And the beautiful thing about California poppy is you're actually going to use the whole plant. And you can kind of see some of the goodness in there. Really using the leaves and the stem because all parts of it are medicinal and to different degrees. So the root here, and interesting thing about the root is if you cut it right, oh, I cut right through. Let's see if I can do this. Again, I didn't get it right with this one. But the root, to me, looks like a nerve inside. If you cut it right. Anyway, I didn't do it right. What it does, it has like a this inner part, and then it has the outer part that wraps around the same way that our nerves do. And so California poppy is really good for the nervous system. So it is a sedative, and it is going to help repair nerve damage. And it is also going to help with pain. It's also going to help with calming anxieties. So it actually helps to calm the mind as well. So the reason why I'm cutting it up is just to make more surface area. California poppy is a really, really safe herb. Some people even use it with babies. And also, you can still harvest it and use it even if the leaves have come off. So this is what it looks like when the leaves have come off. Also, sometimes when the pods are closed, it's okay to use that as well. Let's see how juicy that is. So that's the latex. If you have a latex allergy, is the only reason why you would be careful with California poppy. Because you can even feel it on the leaves. It's got the latex feeling. I know what that feels like. And so if you have a latex allergy, you're gonna want to skin test, or just take a very small amount, or just avoid it altogether if that makes you feel safer. It's totally fine. So people will also take it for insomnia. It's a safe thing to take over time. It's not going to be addictive. It also is known for helping people get off of opiates. So it's not an opiate itself, like the other poppies, but the constituents of the plant fit into the same receptors, the same dopamine receptors in our brain that the more addictive properties of other things we will leave unnamed. So this can actually really help people. It's going to, if they're in withdrawal, they're choosing to lower their dose. This is gonna help. It's gonna help keep them from freaking out as much, having an adverse reaction to those receptors in the brain no longer being filled. So I think this is a really important plant to know, because we have an opioid problem here in BC, this world really, with pharmaceuticals getting involved, with access being more prevalent. And so California poppy, to me, is quite a vital herb. So with making the tincture today, I'm going to use a 40% vodka. I'm going to do that, and it's going to make it gonna make it not be too strong, but it definitely will take me out. I find with California poppy that just even a few of the flowers in a tea just knocks me right out. But it's not the kind of knockout that is going to leave you with a hangover. Just gonna have a really good sleep. And so now I'm kind of just picking out flowers. So we have a more of an equal ratio to flower to foliage. Like I said, it's a really gentle plant. Besides its uses for, you know, sedation and calming, it's actually been studied for helping with liver damage as well. Can't remember what the the actual constituents that help with the liver. I know what helps the liver. And with the liver, you know, in Chinese medicine, that it is where anger is stored. So I think herbs that support the liver are important. But with California poppy, I think it's really interesting that it's both calming and good for the liver. So for me, on a plant spirit level, that how I interpret that is calming one's anger, or calming oneself enough to process anger. Because we can get really riled up and not be thinking clearly. And so sometimes with our own emotions, it's just about settling ourselves, calming ourselves enough so that we can think clearly, we can act clearly in a way that makes sense instead of irrationally, which happens to the best of us. But this notion of calming and processing, I feel, is really important. So I'm filling up the jar about just over about 3/4 of the way. Just put a few more flowers in there. So I'm making it as a fresh tincture. Like I said, I harvested these plants yesterday. Which it likes to be made this way. And I'm using a 40% vodka. And then I'm gonna store it in a dark and cool place for 6 weeks or so, or till I remember. And then after that time, I'll drain it, press it. And if you don't get to it in 6 weeks, it's totally fine. Like, the alcohol is going to preserve everything. And really, you just need to drop dose with California Poppy. So this amount I'm making is going to last a long time. And I'll just show you how pretty it looks so far. And I think I'm going to fill it up a bit more because there's still room in there.